You know, they always say a revolver is built for precision, right? And a shotgun? Well, that's just pure raw power. But what happens when someone decides they absolutely must have both, sitting right there in the palm of their hand? Welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking the wild engineering and history behind a weapon that totally defied the rules of its time, the LeMat Revolver. We're going to dive into how this chunky piece of 19th century hardware crammed the rapid fire of a standard sidearm together with the devastating close-range impact of a shotgun. It was basically a terrifying amount of lead packed into one seriously heavy package. To really get this weapon, we've got to ask the exact same question a 19th century cavalry officer would have pondered right before riding into a chaotic skirmish. The old saying goes, in combat, you want the biggest gun you can carry. But as history shows us, it's not just about size, it's about versatility. I mean, if you're charging into the thick of the American Civil War, why on earth would you settle for the standard 6 shots when you could potentially carry 10? And what if that final round wasn't just another bullet, but a massive blast of lead designed to instantly clear your path? Section 1. Precision meets shotgun power, the cavalry's ultimate reserve. So, to see how that question was answered, we have to look at the inventor, Jean-Alexandre LeMat, and his seriously groundbreaking vision from 1856. He conceptualized a weapon that merged the predictable mechanics of a revolver with a hidden, secondary punch. It was a bold design that would ultimately earn the nickname the Grapeshot pistol. The sheer absurdity of the LeMat's capacity really hits home when you compare it to the standard sidearm of the era. A typical Colt revolver gave a soldier 6 shots of .44 caliber lead. Super reliable, for sure. But then you have the LeMat. This thing featured a massive 9-shot cylinder chambered in .42 caliber. Just think about that. That's a straight-up 50% increase in capacity. But, oh, he didn't stop there. It also has a central 16 or 20-gauge smoothbore barrel. Compared to standard issue gear, this thing was an absolute mechanical beast. Section 2. Over-engineered mechanical masterpiece inside the dual-barrel system. Let's get under the hood for a mechanical teardown of how this wonderfully over-engineered sidearm actually worked. Because to create a firearm that smoothly integrates 2 totally different types of barrels into one handheld frame, that takes incredible precision and basically means ripping up the rulebook on how a revolver is built from the inside out. The secret sauce of the LeMat was hiding right in plain sight, dead center. In a normal revolver, your cylinder just rotates around a simple, solid metal pin, the central axis. But LeMat looked at that solid pin and just saw wasted space. So he brilliantly engineered that central axis to literally be a secondary smoothbore barrel. It was specifically designed to fire a devastating Grapeshot blast of buckshot. You essentially had a shotgun acting as the structural core of the revolver. Mind-blowing, right? And this perfectly illustrates how LeMat's 19th century engineering actually parallels modern firearms, like the Bondarn's backup. Today, modern guns use a firing pin selector to switch between modular barrels. Well, LeMat pulled off a remarkably similar dual-barrel selector system over a century earlier. He designed this incredibly unique pivoting striker that sat right on the hammer itself. It was just a genius, innovative way to give the user total control over exactly which barrel they were about to discharge. Let's walk through the actual tactile steps you'd have to take to activate this thing. Picture this. You're in the absolute thick of a cavalry charge. Your 9 standard revolver rounds, spent. This is your ultimate 19th century last-ditch effort. Step 1. You grab that heavy hammer and pull it back to cock it. Step 2. With a quick, deliberate flick of your thumb, you pivot that striker mechanism straight down. Step 3. You pull the trigger, completely bypassing the empty cylinder, and unleash that central Grapeshot blast. It was a visceral, highly deliberate action meant to completely flip the script in a close-quarters fight in a fraction of a second. Section 3. The heavy cost of complexity, when more means heavier. Now, innovation never comes with a price, does it? Taking such a highly over-engineered gadget out into the literal mud and dirt of the field came with some really harsh realities. When a weapon tries to be 2 things at once, it usually struggles with the basics, and the LeMat was definitely no exception. 4+ pounds. That is the massive, scale-tipping loaded weight of this revolver. Just for some context, carrying this around was a literal burden. We're talking about a massive chunk of iron and lead hanging awkwardly off a belt or shoved into a saddle holster. The sheer weight of it made aiming and firing single-handedly incredibly fatiguing, which, ironically, is exactly how cavalry forces were trained to fight. To really ground this for modern firearm enthusiasts, think about the quirks of the North American Arms Mini Revolver. The NAA Mini is famous for being ridiculously tiny, right? It requires a very specific kind of awkward manual of arms just to operate effectively. The LeMat was the exact opposite extreme. massive, heavy, cumbersome. But it shared that exact same fundamental DNA. It was exceptionally quirky. It's demanded that you adapt to the weapon rather than the weapon adapting to you. And honestly, the drawbacks went way beyond just the sheer weight of the thing. The practical limitations were pretty severe. For starters, it was agonizingly cumbersome to reload. I mean, trying to reload 9 separate chambers plus a shotgun barrel while full-on galloping on horseback? Yeah, virtually impossible. Plus, it featured a highly complex mechanism with way more moving parts than your trusty standard-issue Colt or Remington. This definitely wasn't a weapon you could accidentally drop in the mud and still expect to fire. It demanded constant, meticulous maintenance. In fact, you can draw a pretty direct line between the maintenance nightmares of the LeMat and something like the famously intricate Colibri pistol. You know, the Colibri is legendary for its delicate, watch-like internal complexity, which made it an absolute nightmare to keep clean and functional. The LeMat suffered from that exact same vulnerability. Because of that pivoting striker and the whole dual-barrel integration, dirt, grime, and black powder residue could easily foul up those intricate moving parts. That meant your precious reserve of firepower could be rendered completely useless exactly when you needed it the most. Section 4, a tactical battle surprise, the 10th round advantage. So, with all of those massive, glaring drawbacks, why was it used at all? Well, despite its flaws, the LeMat offered a unique tactical utility that savvy commanders just couldn't ignore. It wasn't about being the perfect, reliable, all-around sidearm. It was about having a devastating trump card up your sleeve. For certain Confederate officers, the LeMat actually became a huge status symbol. It was the weapon of choice for prominent cavalry elite like J.E.B. Stuart and PGT Beauregard. And look, these guys didn't choose it because it was light or easy to carry. They chose it because it offered unprecedented tactical surprise. Imagine this. An enemy counts your shots, hears 6 bangs, and assumes you're completely out of ammo. But with the LeMat, you still had 3 revolver rounds left, plus a devastating shotgun blast ready to go. This quote really nails the essence of why this quirky weapon mattered so much historically. In a world of single-shot muskets and 6-shooters, having that 10th Grapeshot round was often the difference between a successful charge and a retreat. Just let that sink in for a second. That single, highly specific design feature, that 10th round, completely altered the math of close-quarters cavalry encounters. It gave the user the ultimate psychological and physical edge in those chaotic dying seconds of a skirmish. Section 5. The high-dollar historical relic, the LeMat's modern legacy. All right, let's pull this explainer back into the present day. The Civil War is long over, but the LeMat? Definitely not forgotten. Today, it stands as an absolute icon in the antique and historical firearms collecting world. It's remembered not just as a tool of war, but as this fascinating testament to human engineering and the relentless pursuit of an advantage, no matter how ridiculously complex the solution turned out to be. We can actually compare its enduring legacy to high-demand modern pieces like the Seacamp LWS-32. The Seacamp became a highly sought-after collector's item precisely because of its intricate, hand-assembled quality and totally unique design. Original LeMat revolvers hold that exact same prestige today. They're viewed as highly sought-after historical artifacts. The meticulous craftsmanship required to build that dual-barrel system means that surviving examples are prized as genuine mechanical works of art. And let me tell you, that prestige translates directly into cold hard value. Today, an original LeMat revolver can easily fetch tens of thousands of dollars at auction. No joke. It perfectly proves the point that while bigger is one thing, better usually just comes down to having the exact right tool for the job when things get unbelievably messy. Its rich historical significance, combined with its rarity and pure mechanical uniqueness, has firmly cemented its incredible value on the modern market. Which brings us to the end of our deep dive into this bizarre, incredible piece of engineering. We've explored how Jean-Alexandre LeMat tried to solve the ultimate problem of firepower by squishing a revolver and a shotgun into a single, massive 4-pound package. Now, I want to hear from you. What is your all-time favorite over-engineered historical weapon? Drop it in the comments below, and let's keep this discussion going. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I can't wait to uncover more fascinating engineering secrets with you.